Hi, I'm Elliot. This is a short film, Raqqa. Remnant of humanity are fighting against alien invaders who use people as fuel building cities. They make huge structures that creates the atmosphere. The movie starts in the sandy expanses of Texas. Before we were unique creatures, the smartest inhabitants of the planet, but now people are just parasites, pests. Reptilians with unique abilities and superior weapons arrived in orbit and took over the Earth to exterminate the human race. They took over our history, culture, covered the planet with people slowly losing their lives, screaming in pain and suffering. Many of us were exterminated by the reptiles during the landing, but there are those who become their slaves. In the light of burning fires, broken and subjugated people limply submit to alien creatures with weapons in their hands. Having enslaved our world, the reptiles ruthlessly use people. The familiar world has plunged into chaos, and even such a landmark as the Eiffel Tower is rusting without proper care and attention. Survivors and captive people, forced to obey the reptiles, live in the so-called nurseries. Those who manage to escape from there tell terrible things that terrify other people. Millions of skeletons and human skulls are reminders of how pathetic we are in front of more advanced creatures. People who have visited the nursery compare it to hell, believing that even in a fiery dungeon it is not as scary as it is here. The reptilians use the captives, turning them into living incubators in order to continue to multiply and finally take over our world. Starting the colonization of the Earth, the reptiles realized that the atmosphere of the planet was unsuitable for their species. Instead of leaving it, the alien invasion began to destroy houses, erasing from the face of the Earth everything that humanity has achieved in its centuries-old history. Adjusting the planet to their needs, the reptilians began to build giant structures that create their atmosphere. They destroy vegetation, burn forests, and cities go underwater due to natural disasters caused by rising temperatures. Every day, it is getting harder and harder for surviving people to breathe, because the Earth is practically unsuitable for their existence, and the worst is yet to come. Possessing unique capabilities, reptiles not only exterminate all living things, but also subjugate people to themselves. They are able to control the cerebral and limbic systems, thanks to which they control rats, insects, and the human race, which still continues their miserable existence. Reptiles have already become the dominant species and have practically taken over the planet, but there are still rebels in the world trying to put up a worthy resistance to the enemy. Showing the genius of engineering, people have developed devices that can prevent reptiles from affecting the cerebral system. The brain barrier allows to maintain control over thoughts, but there are not enough devices for everyone, and a need to use them wisely. Alien invaders know about all this, but they are not afraid of the enemy, because they are sure that very soon they will finally subjugate the planet to themselves, becoming the dominant and only species living on Earth. A group of rebels under the command of Jasper are the only ones who still continue to resist the aliens. Hiding underground, people learned to survive, get food and water. Gathering their courage, everyone is working to repulse the enemy. Even children do not sit idle, helping soldiers load cartridges into clips and hoping that one day they will be able to return to normal life. Carefully planning each sortie, the soldiers go to the next skirmish with the enemy. With politicians, the reptilians act in a completely different way. One of these men, involuntarily offering the survivors to surrender. A resistance squad hides nearby and watches what is happening, hoping to exterminate a few more enemies. At some point, one of the girls comes out of hiding and pretends to believe the words of a propagandist broadcasting like a nightingale. Distrustful reptiles understand that the girl has a bomb with a detonator and immediately eliminate her. It turns out that she was just a distraction, so the soldiers activate the bomb. As a result, they get torn to pieces. Despite the horror, children of war rejoice, grab the hand of aliens, and raise up as a symbol of victory. Small victories give a ray of hope, and it seems that not everything is so bad. But the reptiles avenge their own, and having tracked down a car convoy, attack. One of the wounded soldiers miraculously survives the explosion and performs from the car. Realizing that his days are numbered, the man puts a gun to his head and prepares to pull the trigger. At the same moment, he sees before him a completely new kind of aliens who have arrived on Earth. Translucent creatures, reminiscent of angels sent in answer to prayers, bring new hope for a better world. The new world has changed everyone. Now everyone must adapt to the conditions, otherwise they will lose their lives. In the old world, Nosh would have been in prison, but in the new world, he did well. A pyrotechnician and explosives lover digging through the junkyard collects metal and radio parts to turn them into something more. He is able to craft almost everything, from a blocker helmet to unique explosives, which are legendary among the rebels. Nosh knows how much people need him, and in particular Jasper, who again came to him with her assistant. A woman buys 4 devices to protect the soldiers' brains, but it's not enough to fight the alien invaders. The military knows about Nosh's unique development and asks him to sell explosives. The pyrotechnician is not ready to sell a special product, as he is satisfied with the new world order, and he is even glad that the reptiles have taken over the earth. Previously, he would rot in prison, but now he can burn and destroy whatever he wants. Soon, Nosh agrees to hand over the explosives, but in exchange Jasper must bring profit, the sick, the elderly, and children, whom they do not feel sorry for. The military man is outraged by the insolence of the pyrotechnician and points a gun at him, but this does not frighten Nosha, because he is ready to say goodbye to life at any moment. Demanding bait, he promises a strong explosion that will exterminate most of the reptiles. After listening to Nosh, Jasper thinks about his words and understands that the sacrifice of several people is justified, because the fate of humanity is at stake. Upon returning to the hideout, Jasper heads to Amir, a unique man found in the 7th sector. At first, the military thought he was a corpse and an unsuccessful reptile experiment, but they soon realized that the guy was still breathing. He frightens the military. They are afraid to approach Amir, pointing rifles at him. Jasper and Sarah are the only ones who can communicate with the guy, believing that he is not hopeless. The rebel leader frees Amir's hands, giving him freedom. As soon as the military leave, Sarah decides to feed the guy and remove the veil from his head. Now she sees that alien mechanisms and reptilian technology are integrated into the flesh of Amir, and believes that this will help people win the war. While the soldiers are training to shoot their rifles, Amir, sitting by the fire, sees pictures of the future, trying to put them together. Since the beginning of the war, Sarah has lost a child, and believes that the surviving captives have a predisposition, unique abilities that can change the course of events. Realizing that Amir sees the future, Sarah asks him to tell him about him. In the morning, soldiers enter the empty and ruined city, attacking air targets. At some point, they manage to hit one of the aircraft, and the observer reports the crash of the aircraft. A group of rebels hurriedly head there, checking their equipment, helmets, and weapons. Jasper reminds that devices on the head cannot be removed, and even more so, it is forbidden to look into the eyes of reptiles. Upon arriving at the crash site, a group of military men spot an alien monster fleeing and stuff it with lead. An injured reptile screams in pain and tries to escape by hiding behind any available cover. Meanwhile, Amir is increasingly immersed in images of the future and sees how people are burning, and the reptiles are stacking their skulls in a place where there are millions of bones of those who could not resist the alien invasion. His eyes fill with proteins, as a result of which Amir becomes a kind of seer of the new time. At some point, the cornered enemy uses telekinesis and pushes one of the soldiers into the wall, causing the blocker helmet to fly off. Jasper orders Martinez not to look into the reptile's eyes, but it's too late. Succumbing to the influence on the cerebral system, the soldier takes a weapon and begins to shoot at his own, taking the life of one of the rebels. Jasper and her assistant are left with no choice. They're forced to eliminate him. Eventually, they got the monster. As soon as the terrible monster falls, Jasper orders to deprive him of his head. Picking up a machete, decapitates the reptile. He grabs the head and picks it up. People know that only one species should remain alive, and this head serves as a symbol for them that it is too early to give up. Yes, the enemy is strong but also vulnerable, which means that they need to continue the fight and go towards the goal despite the difficulties and obstacles. Jasper and her subordinates understand that everything is still ahead, and very soon they will meet the reptiles face to face again, but they are ready for this. We hope you enjoyed watching. Please like and subscribe. Write your thoughts. What do you think about it? Will there be any danger to humanity like this? See you soon.